of band is this?
Everybody poops sometimes.
Give us the smooth.
Wake up, sweetness.
Your first time should be more than special.
I'm in, Savannah said. Good Lord, Gemma.
When a man and a woman, in this case, really, really love each other, what happens is they fuck.
Ooh, hello?
Oh, dang it, I lost my fish.
This next word almost sounds like Quidditch. Quidditch milade u Diana Agosiagath an Viedian.
As much as I love fucking you, sweetness. We stared into each other's eyes whilst I moaned in ecstasy. Having consumed half of the bourbon, I keep saying bourbon. You know, every time I mess up on a word, Stunt Mama just shows up.
She had her seductive smile on her lips.
I said we couldn't have sex. I didn't say anything about everything else. Ew. Happy to help. Biatch. You are the spark of light and the vastness of my night. His note, like a finality to a beautiful, breathtaking song.
Good evening. It is so great to be back. You know, like back. Not just back, but like truly back. Good evening, Stunt Mama's mama. It is wonderful to see you. Yay, indeed. We get to read again. Yay. And I fixed Firebot too. I think. Hold on. Now it's on, but I did fix it. I swear to God I fixed it. It might need a second to, get the hamsters running. Did I just catch your stream? Yes. Yes, you did. We are just getting started. How goes it? Is it Lori Lay's library? Am I saying that right? I think I am. Well, thank you for the follow. That was very kind of you. Excuse me. Frog in my throat. Lorelei? Am I saying that right? Lorelei's? I swear I know how to read. Most of the time. They wouldn't allow punctuation. Yeah, they don't. No. They sure don't. Well, welcome in. I haven't been able to read a book in over a week. And it hasn't been fun. Lorelei. Okay. I think I got it now. Unless that first... You know what? I apologize. Because I'm not going to get it right. Morgan Alice Graves, thank you for the follow. Hello. It doesn't matter. I'm sorry. Unless it's Lorelei. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Anyway. Hi. Good to see you. Stunt Mama's mama, that command should work now. I just connected Firebot to the stream officially. There it is. It seemed a bit quiet, but there it is. Should change that. Anyway, I have seen a bunch of people reading in silence. Is that a thing too? It is. It is. I don't do that, but there are plenty of people that do. We're going to be continuing with this book, Song for Someone. It's a fantastic book, and I was bummed that we had to stop. But thankfully we can get back into it. If you type in the chat !someone, you will get a link to the author page for the person that wrote this book. I officially passed my weekly word goal for writing. Nice. Excellent. Good job. I apologize. All right. So we've had a lot of time away from this. So the puzzle is ready. ! Puzzle. If anyone wishes to do that. Otherwise, I'm going to get right into it. Kay, great to see you. Amlas, welcome in. For those of you that don't know, I'll also be reading a different book after this in Discord. So, yes. It's not my Discord, just as a throwing that out there. But anyone that wants to come and listen is more than welcome. It's an open door. All right. With that in mind, I'm so glad to be back to reading. Of the printed copy, we're sitting at page 271. The last thing that we read about, just so I can kind of remind myself, I should have done that earlier. Homes of the window, check this time. Oh yeah, they were going to a christening that would commence at 11 o'clock, 1 hour hence. So anyway, let's just get into it. I'm sure it'll come right back once we start reading. Chapter 45. Music is a little loud for me. Later that morning, the guests congregated to attend the christening of Francesco Alessandro Espirito at the Basilica of Sant'Alessandro Church. The ground, starting off to an excellent start here. The proud godparents, Holmes, Ava, and I stood next to the font, prepared to pledge our sponder, our promise to encourage the child's spiritual growth. The music is a bit too loud for us. I wondered. Let me, Okay, yeah, I think I had it up because of something else. I just knocked it back down, so hopefully we're good. I shall wait for your word, milady. Excellent. Thank you. And thank you for letting me know that quickly. The choir boys sang Loving Shepherd of Thy Sheep. Francesco, the very picture of infantile dignity, neither cried nor fussed until the holy water was sprinkled onto his forehead. Then he let out an indignant yell, much to the amusement of his proud parents and the rest of the congregation. Outside the church, the carriages waited to transport the guests back to Lisole to attend a private reception. Back at the farmhouse, Violetta and I were in conversation while fussing over Francesco. Katie, good to see you. Everybody, Katie is our author. She penned this book, and she did a fantastic job with it. I want to thank you, Violetta, I said, for being my confidant. I never had a sister, and I love you dearly. Thank you, Neen. That means so much to me. You know that I love you too. Ludo approached us. Violetta and I have come to a decision, he said. We agree that Ava must have her chance to audition for La Scala. Well, that is wonderful news. I beamed at them. I shall write at once to my dear friend Sophia and ask her to chaperone Ava at her audition. Returning to the barn, I quickly wrote a letter to Sophia, enclosing a check to cover Ava's audition fee. I returned to the farmhouse with a parcel under my arm, handing Clarissa the letter for posting before rejoining the celebrations. Holmes and I presented Ludo and Violetta with a check to be used at their discretion to set up a trust fund for Francesco. Violetta stared at the check in disbelief. I shouldn't be so bold as to tell you how to spend your money. But this is far too generous. We cannot accept it, she stuttered. I shook my head. Nonsense, Violetta. Francesco is our godson, and it's our moral duty to help provide for his future. You've looked after us during all this madness, and you refuse to accept a single lira. It's the least we can do. Holmes laughed. I know from personal experience there is little point in arguing with the lady. However, we both owe you a great deal, so please consider this recompense for services rendered. Not only for now, but from 4 years ago, when you helped a total stranger. Ludo and Violetta reluctantly accepted the check. I caught Ava's eye and beckoned to her. Come, Ava. I have something for you. Ava walked over to join me. What is it, Neen? She asked, staring at the package in anticipation. Well, open it, please, I said, handing the parcel to Ava. Ava opened the package and was stunned to discover my bespoke curling tongs. She gasped with shock, shaking her head. Neen, I cannot accept them. I know they cost a fortune. You have given me so much already. Don't be silly, I said. Consider it an investment in your future. I want you to promise me you'll take them with you to Milan. Be sure to ask Sophia to dress your hair. She has a dab hand with tongs. Don't worry, I have an identical pair back in Trenton. A telegram waited for me when I awoke the following morning. My cousin Estelle relayed the news that my father had taken ill. There had been complications with his diabetes. I explained the situation to Holmes, and after much deliberation, we agreed to travel to London together. From there, I would make my way to Southampton to board the boat to New Jersey. Holmes offered to accompany me, but I politely declined his kind gesture. There's no rush, I said. We have all the time in the world. I sincerely hope your father makes a speedy recovery, said Holmes. As soon as I get matters in hand and attend to Mycroft's so-called urgent case, I intend to travel to see you and your father. It doesn't sit right with me, leaving you alone to cope with everything. Nonsense, I won't be alone. I have the full support of my family. I don't want you to worry. As soon as I am convinced my father is recovering, I will come back to England. I suppose while you're in New Jersey, that will allow me to put my own affairs in order. Well, in that case, I said, you had better show me what you will be missing. Or better let me show you what you'll be missing. I was going to say, that didn't sound right. Sounds like they're going to share a peck on the cheek. That was chapter 45. So basically, they're getting ready to leave and go back home, which would make sense considering how much of the book we have left. But remember, this is not the only book. This is just the first in a series. So if you like this story, you'll like the others. It's not the same tea that I normally drink, but it's still decent enough. All right. Page 274, chapter 46, also from Irene Adler's perspective. Holmes had set off to the village by the time I awoke the following morning. Stepping into the shower, I stared at my reflection in the mirror. The woman who stared back looked pale and drawn, with dark circles under her eyes. I tied my hair up in a knot. I was just about to put the finishing touches on my makeup when I was disturbed by a knock on the door. I opened it, expecting to find Violetta or Ava. Instead, a tall, well-built man stood before me, his corpulent frame spanning the doorway. He smiled at me before removing his hat. Good morning, Miss Adler. What brand of English breakfast tea is the one you're missing? It's called Ashby's. A-S-H-B-Y apostrophe S. I get it from a little store that's like 40 minutes away. They said they would call me when they had more. I'll be fine. Good morning, Miss Adler. Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Mycroft Holmes. I am Sherlock's brother. May I come in? He asked, offering a soft but purposeful handshake. Please, do come in, Mr. Holmes. I stared at him with a puzzled expression, inviting him to take a seat in the drawing room. Mycroft took off his overcoat, placing it on the chair next to him. May I offer you a drink? I smiled at him nervously. A glass of port would be more than acceptable, and perhaps a glass of water. I'm not used to this infernal heat. This will be the death of me. Mycroft's face glistened from the heat of the morning sun, which is the perfect time to have an alcoholic drink. Just saying. He pulled a handkerchief from his pocket and wiped his chubby cheeks in an attempt to cool himself down before lighting a cigarette. I handed Mycroft a glass of port along with the water. I stared at the bottle for a moment, sorely tempted. What I wouldn't give to have a drink right now. But instead, I put the cork back in the bottle, returning it to the sideboard. Then, pouring a glass of water from the pitcher, I took a seat across from Mycroft. He was a tall, portly man. From what Sherlock had told me, Mycroft was 7 years older than his brother. Although he appeared much older, his dark hair going gray at the temples. His gray, deep-set eyes darted around the room and seemed to retain that faraway retrospective look that I have often observed in Sherlock. He wore a somber but well-cut pearl gray suit, with a cravat and a gold watch chain burrowed into his waistcoat. His shining black hat rested on his knee. The Inverness draped over the chair appeared far too warm for the Tuscan weather. I was desperately trying to remember what Sherlock had told me of his brother. I knew they had a strained relationship, and Mycroft was dedicated to his work. He served his country diligently, and did his duty, never afraid to make difficult decisions. Sherlock said his brother had the most orderly brain of any man living. A man of habit. He lived in rooms at Pall Mall. His regular routine was to walk around the corner every morning to Whitehall to his place of employment. Then in the evening he would walk back to Pall Mall, to the Diogenes Club, where Mycroft was a founding member. Sherlock said his brother seldom broke his routine, but if that was the case, what was he doing here in Fiesole? Rexter! My guy, what's up? It's good to see you. I am sorry, Mr. Holmes. Was Sherlock expecting you? He never mentioned anything. I sat back in my chair, instinctively covering my stomach with my hands. No, he was not expecting me, Miss Adler. On the contrary, I ensured he would be out before making myself known to you. I immediately had an overwhelming feeling of dread as a wave of nausea engulfed me. Mitchell! Hi. How are you and how's your family? The little kiddo is not feeling too great. He came home from school today, not looking too good. But otherwise, we're doing great. Thank you for asking. I hope you guys are too. Wait, why do I feel like I skipped a page? Nope. Mycroft stood. This really will not do, Miss Adler. Do you seriously believe that you and Sherlock can return to London and live together? Why, that is quite an absurd notion. I don't doubt that he is smitten with you. Your charms are evident to see. But Sherlock would soon weary of domestic bliss and inevitably end up resenting you, he said deeply. Poor baby, a lot of stuff going around. Yeah, it was only a matter of time, I guess. Donna, hello. There's a lot of colds and such going around. Yeah, it's a thing. It's not a nice thing, but it's a thing. It seems to be extra thick of germs this season compared to last. Not great. He sighed deeply. My brother is the greatest detective of his time. He must be allowed to continue with his work, his raison d'etre. Mycroft stared at me intently. I speak to you confidentially, Miss Adler. Archibald Primrose has personally intervened and demanded my brother's immediate return to London. Sherlock's enemies are many, and there have been several attempts on his life. There's always a backlash for someone classed as a genius flaunting himself in the public eye. My brother collects enemies as others collect stamps, and if he continues his relationship with you, you and your unborn child will become targets. I'm sorry, but I simply cannot stand by and allow that to happen. How on earth could you possibly know I am with child? I stared at him aghast. I say kids are walking petri dishes. Yep, that's pretty much spot on. I assume my brother does not know about the child. I shook my head. Mycroft stared at me incredulously. I rest my case. The situation is far worse than I first anticipated. The facts are the... Just kidding. Wrong person. The facts are these, Miss Adler. You have recently lost weight and are habitually afflicted by nausea. You begrudgingly abstain from alcohol. Your body language and the way you protect yourself and your unborn child when you feel you are in danger is indicative of a woman with child. You have the pale, dark brown look that is so familiar in pregnant women. Well, it hardly takes a genius to work it out, and I speak to you as one. The fact that Sherlock has no idea is of grave concern to me. They say that love is blind. Well, it is certainly true in this case. I felt sick to my stomach. I have already lost one child, Mr. Holmes. The chances of me carrying this child to full term are negligible. I had no wish to raise Sherlock's expectations. Did you know that Sherlock saved my life? Professor, hello. Good to see you. Mycroft stared at me stony-faced, nodding curtly. Book bonk, thank you very much. Yes, I am well aware that my brother saved your life, Miss Adler. And now you must repay the debt and save his. If my brother finds out about this child, he will follow you to the ends of the earth. On the other hand, if you love him as much as you profess, you must do the right thing and let him go. It is your moral duty to release him from any obligations or reckless promises. Mycroft paused for a moment. If the pregnancy proves viable, then you have my assurance that the child will be provided for. He grimaced. My carriage will return to collect you and your luggage in precisely 1 hour. I understand Sherlock is not expected back before lunchtime. Mycroft placed a large envelope down beside me. These are return tickets for your train journey to Southampton and your subsequent passage to New York. First class, of course. The coachman will return on the hour with instructions to wait 10 minutes, giving you ample time to acknowledge his presence. You will either come or stay. It will be entirely your decision. Mycroft's a bit of a hard-ass, isn't he? Mycroft stood as if to go. Perhaps I may get to see my nephew or niece someday. He appeared to soften for a moment. He put on his hat and coat, walking toward the door. Then he turned, fixing me with his hard, steel-gray eyes. Miss Adler, in case you decide to stay, you need to know that my brother is unaware that I'm in Florence. Best not to mention it, don't you think? Mycroft placed his card on the table next to me. I stared at it in stunned disbelief. This couldn't be happening. I opened my mouth in an attempt to speak, but no words were forthcoming. My voice didn't appear to be working. Same girl. Same. Too soon. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you need anything. No need to show me out. Mycroft took one last look around him before leaving the room, shutting the door behind him. I was utterly bereft. I can speak. I think. I lay down on the bed, waiting uncontrollably, until finally I dragged myself up from the bed and pulled my cases down from the top of the wardrobe, realizing what I had always known. I could not stay with Sherlock Holmes as much as I wanted to. I must let go of him to protect him and our unborn child. Walking into the kitchen, I placed a letter on the table before stepping out onto the patio. Lost in reflection, I recalled our intimate conversations, every glorious moment we had spent together, before once more entering the bedroom we'd shared. I picked up his shirt, inhaled his manly smell, tears welling in my eyes. I was disturbed by the sound of the coachman's whip and the creaking of wheels as the horses galloped into the courtyard. And that's the end of chapter 46, which means we'll have to see what happens next time. Thank you for coming. It's been a wonderful night. Drive home safely. Just kidding. Cheers, Rexter. Mama House Gaming, hi. Yeah, pretty much. Oh, that's what that does. Yep, now you know. Let's see. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys, although some of you may have noticed, we have new sub badges now. Yes, we do. And they're not ready yet, but I have new emotes in the works as well. But the new sub badges are live and, well, live and being used. All right. You did notice? Oh, good. They're little microphones that are wrapped up in like a... I don't know what it is, actually. But they're essentially microphones that are fancied up. So there you go. All right. As we were.
I'm stronger. I'm smarter. I'm better. I am better.
Well, if you say so. If you say so. Although I don't know why that showed up with what's his face. It was that should have been a line from like Anakin Skywalker when he was turning bad. Anyway, moving on. Page 279, chapter 47, Sherlock Holmes. Oh, this should be interesting. Before luncheon, I returned to the barn to find the nest empty and a letter waiting for me on the kitchen table. I tore open the envelope, removing the letter. My darling Sherlock, I am writing this letter to ease your mind, to avoid any conversation regarding our relationship and release you from any unconditional promise. First of all, thank you for saving my life. In my time of darkness, you were a ray of light. I hope to repay the debt someday. I'm sure that when you return to London, your life will resume as it did before. It makes me happy knowing that you will continue what you do best, what you were born to do. I would have only let you down in the end, and I couldn't accept that. I leave this letter, my brooch from La Scala, the vessel used by Godfrey to conceal the Alexandrite stone, to remind you of our time together. Dr. Watson confided that you kept my photograph and letter, and whenever you spoke of me, it was always the woman as a term of endearment. Let me tell you now, Sherlock, that if I am the woman, you are most certainly the man. Any other would pale into insignificance in my eyes. I intend to return to La Scala one day, and my dearest wish is to meet you there if you ever find it in your heart to forgive me. If you ever think of me, let it be as a light in the darkness, removing the shadows from your face and steering you away from danger. I leave you with this quote by Tennyson, and my favorite poem by Percy Shelley. I believe that every life holds one great love, one face to take into the dark. You are mine. You always will be. Music when soft voices die. Music when soft voices die vibrates in the memory. Odors when sweet violets sicken. Love within the sense they quicken. Rose leaves, when the rose is dead, are heaped for the beloved's bed. And so thy thoughts, when thou art gone, love itself shall slumber on. Remember me with a rose. I love you now and always. Nin. Tears rolled down my face as I read her letter, falling back into my chair as an overwhelming sense of despondency flooded over me. Why on earth would she leave me? What did I do? I cried, running into her bedroom and flinging the wardrobe open to find everything gone. My eyes darted around the room when they landed on a card on the floor. I picked it up and examined it with shaking hands, staggered by what I saw. Mycroft! I cried out in anguish. I sat on the bed, trying to make sense of the sordid situation. Slowly, the tawdry conspiracy unfolded in my mind. In an act of devastating cruelty, I had been comprehensively betrayed by the two people I trusted. Aided and abetted by my brother, the woman I had dreamed of for the past 7 years had left me without a moment's thought. I ran to the farmhouse. Violetta showed me a note that Nin had pushed through her door. She read it to me. Violetta, I am so sorry to leave this way. Please forgive me. I promise I will be in touch to explain everything. I love you, Nin. I jumped into the brougham, lashing the horses until we arrived at the railway station, only to be told by the porter that the last train had departed an hour ago. I returned to the barn with a heavy heart, vowing never to trust anyone again. And that was chapter 48. It's interesting to think of Sherlock Holmes with that much emotion. I don't put emotion and Sherlock in the same room when I think about the character of Sherlock Holmes. I think of calculated. I think of, I don't know, serene. And I wouldn't say controlled, because he often isn't. But he's precise. But I never would say emotional. Donna agrees, because Donna and I are thinking alike. Okay. Well, I mean, we know that that's not how it's going to end, right? Because way in the beginning of the book, we're greeted with their child, and they're like, you need to read our diaries. Both of them. Read mine, see what happened. You don't know us like you think you do. So, obviously, it didn't stay this way. But it's interesting to see how close it came to disappearing entirely. Chapter 49, Irene Adler. When I returned to New Jersey, my father and Estelle received me with open arms. I explained what had transpired with Holmes and Mycroft and the news of my impending birth. Although devastated and angry, my father fully supported me. He bravely tried to hang on to see his first grandchild born. But alas, that was not to be. My father suffered a stroke at the beginning of October and lay gravely ill in hospital. He begged me to take him home, as he wished to end his days within his own four walls. Estelle and I arranged for him to come home, where he lay in our care for a month. Early one morning, I came to relieve Estelle from her nursing duties. Sadly, my father's condition had deteriorated overnight. A priest was called in to give his last rites. I recited the poems of Percy Shelley as he lay on his bed. His eyes half closed, he spoke to me in a soft voice. I am an old man at the end of my journey. He squeezed my hand. My darling girl, you have always been very special to me. I've done a terrible thing. Please forgive me. My father began drifting in and out of consciousness. There's nothing to forgive, I whispered. Please don't go. Don't leave me. I begged, powerless to do anything except hold his hand as the life of one of the most important relationships in my life slipped quietly away. My father lay silently on the bed in the bedroom he had shared with my mother, Marianne, the bed where I'd been born in the absolute stillness of death. I told Estelle of my father's passing as tears streamed down my face. I sang and read to him as he lay dying. I held his hand and told him I loved him. I'm not sure if he could even hear me. Estelle put her hand on my arm, smiling at me reassuringly, wiping away her own tears. Yes, he would have, Neen. I promise you, hearing is the last thing to go. The pain he was in was untenable and had been for a long time. But at least he is at peace now. I was 7 months pregnant when my father passed away. My stomach burgeoning as my miracle baby, a blessing in disguise grew within me. My physician visited me regularly. The first time he came to my home, I found a darkly handsome face smiling back at me, his black hair flecked with a tinge of gray. His kind, dark brown eyes and his self-deprecating Jewish sense of humor warmed me to him. After numerous examinations and consultations, Dr. Burston was finally able to reassure me. That's a healthy, strong heartbeat, he said. I have never before seen such strong will and determination like yours. Most of the pregnant women who consult me complain of weight gain, swollen ankles, and varicose veins. I laughed. I have cherished every minute of my confinement, I said. I realize this is my one and only chance to have a child. Burgoning has a hard G. You mean Didn't I say burgoning or did I say burjoning? Pretty sure. Didn't I say burgoning? Or am I saying it wrong anyway? Because that is very possible. Aren't you glad I'm back? So I can mess up words. You're saying it wrong. Okay. Kay's like, I don't care that you're back. Say it right. Thank you, Donna. The G sounds like G, so it's burgeoning? Burgeoning. Tell you, the English language is so messed up. Burgeoning. I don't know why things aren't just written how they sound. That would be so much easier. Burgeoning. Anyway, losing track here. Focus. Cherished every moment. I realize it's my only chance to have a child. Okay, good. He nodded. You need to relax. The memories of the child you lost are making this pregnancy a time of anxiety when it should be a time of great joy. Dr. Burston, I have only reached this stage of my confinement because of you. I want to thank you for that. Please call me Abe, he said. I feel that we have become good friends over the last few months. My wife died just over 2 years ago. Sadly, we were unable to have children. I have been alone ever since. Burgeoning, the E is silent. Well, now I'm just bloody confused. After this chapter, I'm gonna look it up. I'm sorry to hear that, Abe. I must insist that you call me Neen. Thank you, Neen. He smiled at me gently. The truth is, I have fallen in love with you. He laughed. I accept that you don't reciprocate my feelings. However, I want you to know that it doesn't matter to me. However, I can deal with this. I would like to offer you my hand in marriage. I am happy to accept you and the child. Burgeoning. Did I get it right this time? It's like 4th time's a charm. Burgeoning. Purge. Yes. Burge on ing. Burgeoning. Burgeoning. Welcome to Words Out Loud 101. In today's class, we're going to learn about burgeoning, burgeoning, and burgeoning. Now, class, who can tell me which one's correct? Okay. You know, I gotta be honest, that's one word I hardly see. Or hear, for that matter, obviously. The last one, good job, Kay. 5 points. All right, anyway, back to we're almost done with the chapter. My proposal will stand. There's no... Oh, wait. I almost missed an entire chapter. And now someone's trying to scam me out of National City, California. Your kind offer touches me deeply, I said. You are a lovely man, but sadly I have been here before with my late husband. That did not end well. But I would like us to remain friends. I truly value your friendship. In fact, I have come to depend on it. He smiled at me resignedly. Thank you for being honest with me. You'll know where I am if you should ever change your mind. My proposal will stand. There is no time limit on my feelings. Thank you, Abe. I stood, kissing him on the cheek. I look forward to seeing you at our next... Wait, is that her saying that? I look forward to seeing you at our next appointment. Exhilarated by the favorable prognosis, I took upon my pen and wrote a long letter to Holmes, informing him of my confinement and the confrontation with Mycroft. But although I waited anxiously for his reply, it was to be in vain. Wow. Okay. So Either the letter didn't get to him because it just didn't, or it got intercepted by Mycroft, not out of the realm of possibilities. Or, and I think most likely the outcome, is that he did receive it and basically said, screw you. But you know, like nicer. All right, we have curls and push-ups to do. I have not forgotten. They are on the screen. So let's see what we can do, shall we? And then we'll keep reading. Well, that went swimmingly. There we go. Back down to 0. All right. That was a nice little workout. It's important to keep oneself moving for one's own self-preservation. All right, let's see. I was just checking the clock. We have about 6 minutes before ads. So what I'm going to do is run those right now. It's 2 minutes worth of ads, but it gives us about an hour of ad-free time. And then we'll keep reading. So I won't read until the ads are done. I promise. The question is, will anyone actually get ads? That's, debatable. Because Twitch be like that. I want you to know as well, I could have been at a basketball game tonight, but I was like, no. I need to read because I haven't been able to for like 2 weeks. And it was driving me nuts. But don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed my time with American Truck Simulator. And I think I'm actually going to make a thing out of that. So every time I finish a book, I'm going to play 1 or 2 streams of American Truck Simulator and then start the next book. And that way, there's like a little gap between the two. Because I actually have our next book sitting here in this drawer called Black Moon, or In the Shadow of the Black Moon, sorry, by Melissa Roos. This was recommended to me by a friend. She knows the author. And so, yeah. That'll be one of the next books we read. And I will still be reading a Sherlock Holmes book at some point. But I feel obligated since I have this book by a author just like KD, who is living and breathing and sleeping and eating, you know, all those good things. That I should read that first. So there you go. All right, we are back. If you had ads, welcome back. If you didn't, welcome back. We're on chapter 50. Good Lord. How did we get to chapter 50? That's insane. I don't remember how many chapters there are. I just looked at the pages. But looks like chapter 62. I had no ads. Of course you didn't. See? Because that's Twitch. You tell it to run ads. But at least the timers, like, ads don't start for an hour and 2 minutes. So, all right, we're wasting time here. Quit distracting me, Amlas. It's your fault. Just kidding. Don't hate me. Thank you all for being here. I hope you are enjoying this story. I know I am. The story is good. Excellent. Oh, before I want to make sure I didn't test this. I made a new hype command. I want to see if it works. Can we get some hype in the chat, please? Can we get some hype in the chat, please? Get some hype. 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 Get some hype in the chat, please. Can we get some hype in the chat, please? It totally works. Oh, love it. I need to get my new emotes going because obviously that one didn't work. But oh, fantastic. I also made one for Stunt when she shows up. She's probably not gonna like it. Hi, Ash. And then I have a good girl one as well. Which... Thank you.
Hey, aren't you a good girl?
Redthorn. I should have known. And to answer your question, Rexter, we will be in Discord in about an hour. Sounds like I came in at the right time. Anytime you come in Ashball, that's the right time. Doesn't matter what's happening. I was just showing off some of the new sounds / commands. And then Red did a fart thing. Red, it's really good to see you. I miss you, man. Miss hanging out. Miss playing games. Get it together. You miss being here? Well, I'm glad you're here now. Hopefully work isn't kicking your butt too bad. I want to be a good girl, but being bad is so much more fun. Ooh. All right. Can we get back to the book, please? Calm down. Reel it in, folks. Chapter 50 is on page 287. It's from Irene Adler's perspective. Get it together. Now remember, she had just sent a letter to Holmes, and all we know is that it was to be in vain. That's all we know. So, here we go. You don't be weird. It's my stream. I'll be weird if I want to. A week after my father's funeral, my mind still in a haze, I found myself in the offices a Booty Hyde, accompanied by Estelle for the reading of my father's last will and codicils. God, I forgot that was even a word. Am I saying that right? Probably not. Gosh. Katie, if you're still awake, you've done an amazing job of bringing in the old language. From way back when. Because there's some words in here I haven't even heard or heard of in a long time. We were greeted at the entrance by my father's friend and attorney, David Bateson, a middle-aged, tall, imposing-looking man with an engaging manner. He was dressed conservatively in a neat, well-cut black suit. Mr. Bateson shook hands with us, offering his condolences before inviting us into his office, where we were seated on a brown leather Chesterfield settee. The good old Victorian area. Yeah, no kidding. Don't try too hard or you'll feel all the collywobbles. Wow. Okay. Mr. Bateson stared at his papers for a moment as though deep in thought. Then, looking up at me with his clear blue eyes, he smiled. I'm delighted to say that the primary beneficiaries, Irene Adler and Estelle Conlin, are here with us this morning. He nodded to me. Unfortunately, the other beneficiaries of your father's estate, your relatives in the Catskills, and your aunt Eileen Allen are unable to join us this morning. However, your uncle hopes to be able to catch up with you both soon. Over my dead body, I muttered to myself. Well then, tell us how you really feel. Having to be civil at the funeral for appearance's sake was hard enough, as the encounter had brought back old memories that I wanted to forget. David Bateson paused for a moment. As for your Aunt Eileen Allen, I am reliably informed that she is cruising around Egypt, so no messages from her, I'm afraid. Just as well, I said, breathing a sigh of relief. We have never seen eye to eye. She was the source of a great deal of conflict between my father and me in the past. Mr. Bateson read through the contents of my father's will, which was relatively straightforward. He had left $5,000 each to his brother, Aloysius, and Eileen Allen. In addition, his nephews, Dennis and Desmond, would receive $1,600, while Estelle was bequeathed $2,000 for her help and support over the years, which my father said went above and beyond the call of duty. He had left the rest of the estate with its advantages and disadvantages to his beloved daughter, Irene Erone Adler. Finally, an additional sum of $10,000 was to accumulate in the hands of trustees to fund Alfred's grandchild's education and any other subsequent expenses. This would be at the discretion of Irene Adler, the sole executor of said trust. Are you all right, my dear? Estelle asked as she squeezed my hand. Yes, I'm fine, Estelle. I'm so glad my father gave you the recognition you so rightly deserve. He would never have managed all these months without you, and neither would I. Thank you, Neen. That means a great deal to me. He was such a lovely man. I miss him so much. As do I, Estelle. I wasn't ready to lose him yet. I placed my hand on my stomach. You know, I really feel for this little one. He or she will never get to see their grandfather, and it appears unlikely they will ever see their own father. All the money in the world cannot compensate for that. By the way, I apologize, didn't know what IG... Oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it. I just thought it was interesting and odd that your picture and the video I saw were the same. Because it showed the helicopter taking the water and flying away and dumping it and coming back. David Bateson smiled at me warmly before speaking. The rest of your father's estate includes the house. Therefore, in addition to the money your father had in stocks and shares, and all his various holdings and investments, there will be a sum available to you of approximately $25,000. Wifey posted it. Yeah, it could be. I collapsed in my chair, rendered speechless for a moment. I stared back at Mr. Bateson in disbelief. I am shocked, Mr. Bateson. I was always aware that my father was comfortable, but not to that extent. Marianne left a substantial amount of money when she died, which your father inherited, of course. Alfred refused to touch any of it. With interest it has accrued over such a long period. Your father left clear instructions that the money was to go to you and any subsequent grandchildren he may have at the time of his death. Estelle and I stood and shook hands with Mr. Bateson. Do you have any plans for your good fortune, Miss Adler? He smiled at me curiously. Oh, yes, indeed. I will be sure to put the money to good use. We bid you a good day, Mr. Bateson. And that's the end of the chapter. Very clever answer by Irene Adler. Saying yes, but then not actually saying anything at all. Very well. Very well done. You will be surprised to know that after chapter 50 is chapter 51. I know. I was as shocked as you are. But here it is. Page 290. Irene Adler. It was a short chapter. I know. Sometimes they're like that because they need to be. And I see. No. Donna's just as shocked as you are. You know, I don't pretend to know everything when I stream, because I don't. And now I think we've all learned something today. Power to the people. The morning of the 11th of January, I was sitting quietly in the library reading the poetry of Thomas More. After a while, I put the book down on my knee. I could feel the baby kicking, so I placed my hand on my stomach. Hey, I'm looking forward to meeting you, I whispered. Laying my head back on the cushion and closing my eyes, I was immediately transported back to Fiesole. I could almost feel the sun on my face, the smell of the roses, and the intoxicating sweet smell of the grass in the fields. I could hear the swift chirps, smell the familiar aroma of Sherlock's cologne, taste his lips on mine. My thoughts took me back to the familiar sound of classical music playing on the gramophone, the vision of Holmes playing his violin naked, and how I missed our intimacy. He played it naked? Okay. I suddenly awoke from the fantasies playing in the theater of my mind to feel a sharp pain in my side. I rang the bell. When Mary the maid arrived, I asked her to send for my cousin. Estelle came in swiftly. Are you all right, Neen? I have this horrible pain, I grimaced. Surely the baby cannot be coming yet. If you have the option to wear pants or no pants, well, yes, I guess that's understandable. I've never played the drums without pants. Just saying. More than likely to hurt myself. Pants are totally overrated. Okay, fine. Let's... Did you put your nuts on my drum set? Yes, I did. God, such a great movie. So dumb at the same time. Did we just become best friends? Yup. Okay. I don't remember what I was going to say. Oh, I was going to say, fine, let's everybody take our pants off. I've already done my exercises, so what does it matter? No big deal. Anyway, back to the pregnancy. You want to do karate in the garage? Yes. Babies come when they are ready, Neen. It looks like today may well be the day. Estelle gave my hand a reassuring squeeze. It's too cold. We just have to move faster. Joke's on you, mine are already off. Donna. I sighed. Do you think I'll be any good as a mother, Estelle? Do you think the baby will like me? I'm wearing a large, wearable hooded blankie. Ooh, sounds cozy. I think you will be an exceptional mother. Everyone likes you, my dear. My waters broke the following afternoon. I was in labor for 4 hours. Estelle was by my side, holding my hand during each excruciating extraction, which became more frequent. When I felt I could not endure any further pain, Estelle asked me to push. Right, Neen, I can see the head. When the next contraction comes, I need you to push as hard as you can. I've gone in the opposite direction. I'm wearing 2 pairs of pants. Wow. All right. You go, Red. Oh, some mama's got leggings and a blankie. Okay. I'm in jeans. These are like my nice jeans too. They pair well with a nice sweater or a nice shirt. Nice pair of shoes, you know. These are my good jeans. Guys have good jeans and not good jeans. Work pants and the wind protection pants I wear when I'm riding the scooter home from work. See? Hanes bikinis? What? I have belly pain issues, so the band of the pants can hurt more, so I hate pants. Well, you know, that makes total sense. I get kidney stones all the time, and in fact, I'm pretty sure I'm working on passing one right now. So I can understand why that would be a problem. This wearable blanket is like an ankle-length dress on me. You must be this tall. Anyway, we're getting distracted again about pants, or lack of. I have Crohn's disease and meteoritis. My abdomen is evil. Yeah. Oh, God, sorry to hear that. That stinks. You're 5'2". You're pocket-sized. That's great. I hope you can start feeling better. I know it's not going to go away, but... I had a kidney stone 3 years ago. No, I don't want to get it again. I get them all the time, and they suck. On that note, we're trying to have a baby here, okay? Can we... She's trying to push out a child. I looked at Estelle aghast. I don't think I have enough strength to push again. I cried tears of frustration. Nothing had prepared me for such pain. It had ultimately slipped my mind that after pushing out the head, I would have to push out again to free the baby's shoulders. Thank you. Been trying since 2009. Haven't hit remission yet, but still trying. You got this. How can you handle it? It was really painful. You talk about kidney stones as if you're drinking water. My problem is that I can't drink enough water. I have a fluid restriction, so it doesn't matter what I drink. It's just, I can drink all the water and lemonade and other acidic drinks to help break down the stones and whatnot, but I'm gonna make them no matter what. So, yay. Estelle squeezed my hand tightly. Come on, Neen. You can do this. Your baby's going to arrive any moment now. I summoned all of my strength and gave one last push. The baby slid out, and there we were. Mother and child, sweaty, slimy, exhausted, but happy. Estelle cut the cord after clamping it first, and then she beamed at me. Congratulations, Neen. You just delivered a baby boy. I breathed a sigh of relief as tears of joy streamed down my face. There was a deathly silence. No baby's cry. I called out to Estelle. He isn't crying. Why is my son silent? Oh, shit. Estelle looked across at me with an ashen face. I'm sorry. Your baby isn't breathing. I felt as though I was in a bad dream. Taking a deep breath, I began to pray. Please, God, don't let my baby die. Take me. Just don't let him die. Then, out of the corner of my eye, as if in a trance, I could hardly bear to watch as Estelle picked up my baby. She threw cold water onto his face. Holding him by the legs, Estelle smacked him hard on the bottom. More silence. Then, finally, the shrill, indignant cry of a baby, the unmistakable sound of life. Estelle gently washed the child before wrapping him up in a blanket, while I watched anxiously. Oh, thank God, Katie. We were about to have words. Why do I feel like I'm missing something? Wow. Yes, wow indeed. I have my own weird restriction. I'm not allowed to eat fruits and veggies. Oof. Did not have a 4-hour labor either time. That would have been nice. Oof. Stones are very painful. Yes, they are. K's 5'1". Even more pocket-sized. He called me pocket-sized, so I couldn't help myself saying that. Wait, what did you say that I meant? Oh, so I could easily fit in your pocket. Yes, you could fit into Rexter's pocket. Got you there. Seriously. Oh. Katie. We was about to have words, okay? Poised. Estelle gently placed the baby in my arms. Here is your baby boy. He has a fine set of lungs on him, and everything as it should be. Neen, you just need to get some rest. Thank you so much. That's the best directive I've ever had. I beamed at Estelle as she proceeded to deliver the placenta. When I gazed down at my son, gone were all the negative feelings from my past. I remembered Harvey Walpole's words from our final consultation. Present exaltations thrive on the traumas of our past. They can only exist if we let them. Estelle kissed me on the cheek, Nin, just look at him. He's perfect. May I hold him? I passed my son to Estelle. She held the baby gently in her arms, gazing down at his beautiful little scrunched up face. Hello, young man. Welcome to Trenton. Estelle kissed the baby before passing him back to me. Have you decided on a name yet? I'm not sure yet, although I do have a few ideas. Estelle picked up her Kodak box camera and took several snapshots of the baby while I counted my son's fingers and toes. I stared in wonder at his mop of soft, downy black hair, the dimples in his chin, the long, slender limbs, his tiny feet and hands, kicking aimlessly in the air. I gasped as he opened his lids, looking up with me with piercing eyes that reminded me of his father. I leaned in to kiss him, gasping in wonder at the sensation of his soft little hands touching my face. To me, a sweeter, better-looking child would be hard to imagine. I chuckled, recalling Violetta's words of wisdom when Francesco was born. Glancing down at my son, I whispered to him softly, "Hello, precious little man. Welcome to the world. You and I are going to be fine. I promise to always keep you safe." I held him to my breast and looked over at Estelle. "What day is this?" I asked. "Why, it's Sunday. Your child was born on the Sabbath day. He is going to be a bonny, blithe, good and gay." "Thank you, but I meant what date is this?" "Oh, it's the 12th of January, of course." "Thank you," I said, gazing lovingly at my son. "Well, little man, Maria Anka was right about you all along. You are a God-given gift, born of great love. But I didn't need her to tell me that. Let's hope she was right about your father." "Can I get you anything?" asked Estelle. "No, thank you. I have everything I need right here." And that's the end of that torturous little chapter. Just kidding, it wasn't torturous. It just felt that way for a brief moment. Oh, sorry, I've got this crazy itch. So I had a recent visit with the emergency room a few nights ago. And if you can see right here, I have a ton of those all over me. Because that's what happens when patches get put on me. They leave lovely marks and they get super itchy sometimes. Like right now. So I often have to catch myself and stop it. My anti-itch cream is upstairs. Anywho, this might be the smallest chapter or shortest chapter we've had. Page 294. It's like 3 paragraphs. Chapter 52, Sherlock Holmes experience. Sounds like you're allergic to the adhesive. I am. But it's not like they can go, well, we just won't stick any on you. It's annoying. I went to the ER a week ago too. I'm on immunosuppressants for my Crohn's. Had to make sure my sinus infection doesn't go septic and be sure it was only my sinuses. Yikes. That's got to be such a painful and annoying thing to deal with all the time. I mean, I have my own. I gotta be crazy careful if I get sick even a little bit. Yeah, I bet you do. I have to be semi-careful. I have a genetic heart condition, so I have to make sure I don't get too sick, otherwise it can, interfere and have an effect, but not quite to that extent. Anyway, the three paragraphs of chapter 52 from Sherlock Holmes' perspective. I awoke from a troubled sleep and sharp pain in my stomach. Outside was cold and frosty. My limbs felt numb and chilled, yet I was sweating profusely. I rose from my bed and entered the drawing room, glancing up at the clock on the wall, which was striking 11. Pouring a glass of water from the pitcher, I lit a cigarette before taking a sip. Sitting in my chair by the fire, I was in a melancholy mood. All I could think about was the son I had lost nearly 19 years ago. My eyes focused on the photograph of Neen, and I suddenly remembered why today's date, the 12th of January, had struck a chord in my memory, reminding me of how much I missed the engaging smile that never failed to get my attention. But more than that, I missed her presence to get my attention. I missed her presence in my life. Glancing once more at the clock, I frowned. It had stopped at 11 o'clock. Wiping a tear from my eye, I rewound the clock, checking the time with my pocket watch, which said 11:30. Then, carefully stubbing out my cigarette in the ashtray, I retired to my bedroom. Yes, it sounds like it. He experienced a moment. Intertwined love. Chapter 53 starts as on page 295 from Irene Adler's perspective. After my confinement, I returned home to Red Oaks. Settling into my new life with a newborn kept me busy. I tried not to think of Holmes, as I was determined to get on with my life. But every now and then, a memory would knock the wind from me. Slow dancing to Wagner, the feel of his body beside mine as we slept. There was no escaping him. He was even there every time I looked into the eyes of our son. Several months passed before I finally felt strong enough to deal with my father's personal effects. One fine spring morning, accompanied by Estella, we tentatively entered my father's bedroom, which had remained untouched since he died. The first we painstakingly sorted through his belongings, making 2 piles. The first was for clothes to go to charity and the poor. The second for any personal effects I wished to keep, including his watch chain and wedding ring. Estelle opened Father's ottoman while I checked his bureau. I rummaged around to find a large leather wallet full of documents and old letters from my mother. I noticed a white envelope tucked away at the back of the wallet. Pulling it out, I at once recognized my own handwriting. The envelope was addressed to Sherlock Holmes. I stared at the faded envelope in disbelief before going through the rest of the papers. I gasped as yet another faded envelope fell out, only this time it was addressed to me and bore a London postmark. I recognized Holmes' unmistakable handwriting and felt the room spin. Estelle? Why would my father do this to me? I cried. To protect you, Neen. The last thing he wanted was for you to be hurt again. He was concerned you were going to have another breakdown. My father was set against Sherlock and me getting back together. He made me promise I would not pursue our relationship. Estelle shook her head. She appeared close to tears. Neen, there is something else you need to know. He came for you. Sherlock Holmes did. I stared at Estelle. What are you talking about? Sherlock would never come here. In his eyes, I broke his trust. I betrayed him. He came at the end of May. You were at a doctor's appointment. I did not see him, but I overheard him talking to your father in his study. He said he came to Trenton because he was concerned for your welfare after receiving no response to his letter. The letter my father kept from me, I said. Estelle nodded. Yes, I'm so sorry I didn't tell you earlier, but your father swore me to secrecy. He was so angry. He said the children and I would have to leave the house if you ever found out. I couldn't risk that. Estelle began to sob. It's all right, Estelle. Don't get upset. I understand you were placed in an impossible position. But what happened between Sherlock and my father? Your father told him you had met someone else, that you had no interest in pursuing your relationship with him. Your father turned him away and told him never to come back. What about Nico? Did my father tell him of the child? I asked. No, he had no idea. And your father never mentioned anything. Estelle, please forgive me. I need to be alone right now. Yes, of course, Neen. I'll watch over the baby. Take all the time you need. I'm so sorry. Estelle embraced me before leaving the room. Oh, what a father. That would not fly in today's society, but we are coming from different times. I retreated to my bedroom, sitting at my desk. Then I opened the envelope addressed to me from Sherlock Holmes with trembling hands. My heart was beating uncontrollably as my eyes absorbed the letter, the testament of an extraordinary human being. He explained how he had discovered Mycroft's card and came to understand why I felt compelled to leave him. You must come back to me. I swear I'll never again allow anyone to come between us. I read the letter repeatedly, including a poem Holmes had written, which moved me to tears and went thus. You gotta run, Kay. No worries. Take care of yourself. Please. Have a good night. Thank you for being here. And went thus. She is gone, yet this incomparable woman's very essence remains indelibly in my memory. For where else in this universe am I to find beauty without conceit, courage without the want of recognition, friendship without envy, talent devoid of arrogance? She loved unconditionally, with tenderness and empathy, without jealousy. She offered the air from her lungs to this wretched man who knew nothing of love until he found her. She who epitomized all that was good in humanity, eclipsed and predominated her whole sex. My best friend, lover, and soulmate. There can be no other. Neen. Then, finally, I picked up a pen and wrote a letter to Holmes, explaining how my father had intercepted our mutual correspondence. I sealed the envelope, enclosing a recent photograph of our son, running out of the house into the rain to post the letter. I waited anxiously for several weeks, devastated, when there was no response. The thought of going to my grave without seeing or hearing from Holmes ever again totally broke my heart. but I decided that I must carry on as best as I could for the sake of my son. I was determined to be strong for him and build a new life for both of us. And that concludes chapter 53. Oh, the truth came out. No wonder she was upset. I would have been upset. That's crazy. You don't do that. Dang. Page 298, chapter 54, from Irene Adler's perspective. 3 years later, in 1899, having accepted a teaching position at La Scala, my son Nico and I moved to Milan. The 6-bedroom Georgian villa we lived in was light, airy, well-appointed, and set in 2 acres of immaculate cultivated gardens. With the assistance of Robert, Sophia, and domestic servants, Nico and I moved into the villa with minimum fuss. My days burst into life as I found solace and joy in my role as a teacher. I also took on several private pupils in singing and piano. At my happiest when performing and interacting with the children, I now had the best of both worlds. With the assistance of Sophia and Violetta, I used some of my father's inheritance to set up a children's charity. I bought an abandoned church in the old town, and at the end of 6 months, we had a new roof and kitchen. The interior had been replastered and decorated, and made into 3 separate schoolrooms with desks and chairs. Look at her. We also had a separate dining room where the children were served a hot meal twice a day, offering respite to parents who were struggling financially. The 3 classrooms offered tuition in reading, writing, singing, and music. I was as proud of that achievement as anything else I'd ever done. And please excuse me for a moment, I received a message that I need to check. It's my boss. Eva Espirito was by now in her 3rd year at La Scala, an outstanding pupil, widely tipped by the maestros to be the next principal soprano at the prestigious opera house. In addition, Eva was the first recipient of the Alfred Alder Bursary, the other charity I set up to assist musicians who would be unable to afford the fees. I was thrilled when Eva accepted my invitation to move into the villa. Violetta often visited, bringing her son, Francesco, a welcome playmate for Nico. The 2 boys became best friends. How much longer will you be on? I'll be essentially on until the top of the hour, but it depends on... Well, actually, I might not be. 56. Yeah, so I'm going to read the rest of this chapter, but I won't be able to read chapter 55 in time because it's just much longer than the ones we've been reading. So normally I go until 8 o'clock, but it depends on, or 8 o'clock my time, CST, Central. But it really depends on where we are in the story and how long a chapter is. Normally I would just keep going and go over my normal stop time, but on Thursday nights, I read in Discord, as you can see right here. Iron Flame, which is another great book, very different. So yes, that's kind of the plan. So I'll finish this chapter, and then we'll find someone to raid. Thank you for checking, by the way. Do you stream? I haven't done any shout-outs this time around. I'm so sorry. I know Mama House Gaming streams, Rexter sometimes. He should do it more. But Lori, I don't know if you're streaming, and Donna, I can't remember who streams or who doesn't. I have not in a long while. I want to do story time as well as gaming. Yes, come join us. You don't stream, okay. I can't remember anymore. My brain is like, well, I'm going to drop you a follow now. And then that way, when you do go live one day to read and play games, I will at least know about it. I have a lot of brain fog, especially this past year. Yeah, brain fog is a beast. Right, where was I? Oh yes, the two boys became best friends. In the middle of June, 2 weeks before Ava's debut performance, Violetta and Francesco arrived at the villa. In the gardens, the children played with my latest acquisitions, 2 beautiful Persian blue kittens. Oh, you're quite welcome. And thank you for being here. Nico doted on them, solemnly naming them Junior and Miss Millie, much to Violetta's amusement. After lunch, the children asked if they could draw. Violetta and I sat on the lawn watching over them while we drank coffee. I glanced over her son's shoulder and took in a sharp intake of breath. Nico had drawn 2 identical pictures of the sun. What lovely pictures, Nico. Tell me, did you draw these yourself? Are you sure you didn't hire a professional artist? I laughed, observing Nico's bemused expression, which reminded me so much of his father. Don't be silly, Mama. It was me, Nico. Mama was just teasing you, my darling. Was one of those for me? Nico looked up at me, bright-eyed, happy with his exquisite little drawings. Yes, Mummy. Nico handed me one of the drawings, smiling broadly. He pointed to the second picture. This one is for my daddy, he said proudly. I'm sure he will love it, I whispered, smiling down at my son, tears stinging my eyes. I felt an overwhelming urge to scoop him up in my arms and hug him. I know he would not like that one bit, so I put my arms around him, holding him closely. Mummy, too tight, Nico complained, wriggling from my grasp. I'm sorry. I kissed Nico on the top of his head. I love you. I love you too, Mommy. You should be proud of yourself. Do you think my daddy would be proud of me? Asked Nico, his wide-eyed expression focused on my face. Yes, I know he would be. Do you miss my daddy? He quizzed. Yes, of course. If it hadn't been for your daddy, I wouldn't have had you. Nico suddenly turned his attention to Francesco, who was knelt on the grass digging up the soil. Francesco held out his hands and showed Nico the worms wriggling on his palms, his chubby cheeks flushed with color. Look, Mummy, Francesco found some worms, cried Nico. We encouraged the children onto the lawns to play hopscotch and football, and then into the bushes for hide and seek. Eventually, Dara, the maid, came to collect the children to take them into the nursery for tea, leaving Violetta and me free to retire and change for dinner. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of chapter 54. My. So we started from chapter 45 and went through chapter 54. It makes it sound like we read 400 pages. But we all know better. All right, my goodness. Let me take a look, see who we have live that we can go say hello to. And I'm telling you right now, it has been so great to be able to get back to the book. I've missed the story, and I've missed reading to you guys. So, yay for being back. Okay, who do we have on? My goodness, there are so many. So many people right now streaming. Thank you for the reading tonight. Absolutely. Thanks, Jason. See you Sunday. I'm looking forward to it, Katie. Thank you for being here. For those of you that don't know, Katie is in the UK, so it is late for her. Very late. Almost 2 a.m. Thank you, Mama House Gaming. Okay, I just need to make a choice. Let's see. This shouldn't be that hard, you know? I know. I haven't rated Rio in a long time, and she's such a sweetheart. All right. Here's a raid command. Please feel free to give that a copy. Okay. As I mentioned, we will be back on Sunday, continuing this fantastic book. Until then, please, 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 take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and have a fantastic night. Good night.